Nevada election officials say they are bracing for possible new barriers at the ballot box under a proposed federal SAVE Act and a presidential executive order. At a town hall today, Democratic members of Congress and Secretary of State Francisco Aguilar said they support secure elections, but argue the Republican-backed plan would make it harder for eligible Americans to register and vote, especially in communities of color, women who have changed their names, and low-income voters.
If a voter doesn't truly understand the rules of the game, they will self-select out of participating, and that's the most dangerous thing.
Aguilar says Nevada's mail-in and early voting system is already secure and promised the state is preparing a legal challenge if the SAVE Act or the executive order goes forward.